sky. You're the color of the sky reflected in each storefront window pane. You're the whispering and the sighing of my tires in the rain. You're the hidden cost and the thing that's lost in everything I do. Yeah, I'll never stop looking for you. In the sunlight and the shadows and the faces on the avenue. That's the way love is. That's the way love is. That's the way love is. Sky, sky, blue and black.
You are invited to participate in a true multimedia experience coming to a home near you. LCM TV is bringing Lake County into the new millennium with news, live broadcast, information, music, talk shows, and local programming, all streaming in high definition online and soon to be on your Roku box. Join us at lcm-tv.com or be a part of our studio audience. You can also watch the shows at lakecomagazine.com as we provide programming to inform, enlighten, and maybe even enrage you. On Lake County Magazine Talk Show with Terry and Pete the Tax Guy, Wednesday mornings at 9 a.m. Like racing? Try the Checkered Flag Show, hosted by Ace Naylor on Tuesdays at 7 p.m. All ages and divisions in regional and national fields. Joni Lane brings a positive light to you every Monday at 3 p.m. Pasha Space brings an international flair as they discuss ecological, health, and social issues in Haiti with people around the world. End up your week with positive, conscious sounds on Saturday at 9 a.m. with Sister T on the Bridge. This show is also simulcast on KMEC 105.1 FM in Ukiah. Our latest show, LCM TV News, is brought to you live Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at noon, and rebroadcast at 6:30 p.m. and noon daily, Tuesday, Saturday, and Sunday, featuring national, regional, and local news, weather, and sports. We have it all here for you on your local TV station, LCM TV. Join us online and soon on Roku, giving you access to all the best Lake County has to offer. We are LCMTV.com, your multimedia connection. Tune in for the fun. It's live TV at its best.
Welcome. This is LCM TV News at Noon. We're not your normal news. I'm Pete Schiffman.
I'm Megan Berger.
Our lead story in the National is the Senate narrowly voted on Tuesday to end debate on legislation granting President Obama enhanced negotiating powers to complete a major Pacific trade accord, virtually assuring final passage Tuesday of Obama's top legislative priority in his final years in office. The procedural vote of 60 to 37 just reached the minimum needed, but final Senate passage will only require 51 votes. The House approved Trade Promotion Authority last week. With congressional support for Fast Track Authority, the President can press for final agreement on the Trans-Pacific Partnership, a legacy-defining accord linking 40% of the world's economy, from Canada and Chile to Japan and Australia, in a web of rules governing Pacific commerce. His administration can also bear down on a second agreement with Europe, known as the Transatlantic Trade and Investment Partnership, knowing that lawmakers will be able to vote for or against those agreements. but will not be able to amend or filibuster them. Most Democrats, along with labor unions, environmental groups, and liberal activists, disagreed, saying that such trade agreements had resulted in lost manufacturing jobs and lower wages for American workers. 13 Democrats sided with Republicans to end the debate and get a final vote on trade promotion authority.
The Obama administration is creating a new interagency hostage unit to work for the recovery of U.S. citizens abducted by terrorists and other criminal groups. The government will no longer threaten prosecution of those who engage in private ransom negotiations for the return of their loved ones. The policy changes are set to be announced today by President Obama following a 7-month review of what has largely been an ad hoc approach to hostage recovery efforts. While the government will not block private ransom payments, U.S. authorities will still be prohibited from facilitating such arrangements, including raising funds for payment or delivery. President Obama ordered a review of the U.S. hostage policy in December, and the administration was briefing affected families last week. At the center of the new policy is the creation of the so-called Hostage Recovery Fusion Cell, a permanent U.S. government unit composed of officials across the government, including the State Department, FBI, intelligence agencies, and Pentagon, to coordinate tracking and recovery efforts.
And on an update for that story this morning, President Obama administration announced the new rules that are going into effect. And besides having a typical, normal group for their activity, they've actually have appointed someone to review all cases of financial needs for families of victims. So we'll give you more update on the news on that probably on Friday. So on Monday, South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley called to do what just a week ago seemed politically impossible: to remove the Confederate battle flag from its perch in front of the State House building. She argued the symbol long revered by many Southerners was for some, after the church massacre in Charleston, a deeply offensive symbol of a brutally offensive past. She spoke at an afternoon news conference surrounded by Democrat and Republican lawmakers, including both of the state's United States Senators, Lindsey Graham and Tim Scott. Sorry, folks, a little technical problem there. Surrounded by United States Senators Lindsey Graham and Tim Scott, who's an African American. It was a dramatic turnabout for Haley, a second-term Republican governor who, over her 5 years in the job, has displayed a little interest in addressing the intensely diverse issue of the flag. But her new position demonstrated the powerful shock the last Wednesday's killing had Emmanuel AME Church have delivered to the political status quo, mobilizing leaders at the highest levels. In a similar move, Virginia Governor Terry McAuliffe is moving to end the display of the Confederate flag on Virginia license plates.
Defense Secretary Ash Carter announced Tuesday that the U.S. will deploy heavy weaponry, including about 250 tanks, armored vehicles, and other equipment across 6 European nations, including those along the Russian border. The move is meant to help reassure NATO allies facing an array of threats from Russian terrorist groups. It is only the latest message being telegraphed to an increasingly assertive Vladimir Putin in the wake of his country's intervention in eastern Ukraine. The equipment is set to be stationed in the Baltic states, Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania, as well as Bulgaria, Poland, and Romania. Each set of equipment would be enough to equip a military company or battalion and would go on at least a temporary basis to those 6 nations. The equipment could be moved around the region for training and military exercises and would include Bradley fighting vehicles and self-propelled howitzer artillery guns. The countries for the equipment storage were chosen based on their proximity to the training ranges to reduce the time and cost of transporting it for exercises. The two-pronged U.S. plan, with the placement of equipment in Europe and commitment of resources for NATO's Very High Readiness Task Force, underscore America's commitment to helping allies counter the growing threats on Europe's eastern and southern fronts.
A federal judge agreed Tuesday to postpone the Obama administration's tough new hydraulic fracturing restrictions just hours before they were scheduled to take effect. U.S. District Court Judge Scott Scaldaval in Casper, Wyoming, gave both sides another week to submit arguments and citations before making a final decision on the request for a stay, which is expected July 22nd. For western states, Colorado, North Dakota, Utah, and Wyoming, along with two oil and gas industry groups, have asked the court to delay the Bureau of Land Management's rule slated to kick in Wednesday until their lawsuits could be heard. The Western Energy Alliance, which filed suit along with the Independent Petroleum Association of America, argued the rule presented a credible threat of irreparable harm. Kathleen Segma, Vice President of Government and Public Affairs, stated BOM was ill prepared to implement an extremely complex rule in a short period of time. A coalition of 6 environmental groups has defended the federal rules, which would require the BLM to approve fracking operations on federal land, arguing that they had not been updated since 1988, despite the increasingly widespread use of well stimulation techniques like high-volume hydraulic fracturing, which injects millions of gallons of fluids and toxic chemicals into the ground, often destroying groundwater.
The House voted Tuesday to repeal another piece of Obamacare, this time a Medicare cost-cutting board that opponents have decried as a death panel that could ration care. Majority Republicans led the charge to repeal the Independent Payment Advisory Board, or the IPAB, 244 votes to 154, and were joined by 11 Democrats who ignored President Obama's veto threat. The Affordable Care Act of 2010 created the board to recommend savings within Medicare if the program exceeded a target growth rate. It would implement those changes unless Congress overruled it through legislation that achieved similar aims, or if 60 senators voted to override its cost-cutting provisions. Critics have lambasted the IPAB as 15 unelected bureaucrats who ostensibly could rein in seniors' care, although no one's been appointed to the board yet. The unelected panel exists only to take control away from patients in ration care, and it's seniors who will potentially suffer the consequences. The board was designed to serve as a cost-cutting backstop, only to come into effect if other efforts weren't successful. The White House said the House was jumping the gun and erasing a key cost-cutting tool that is prohibited from recommending changes that would ration care or drive up premiums.
Government is learning what open data means one step at a time. The Federal Emergency Management Agency, commonly called FEMA, took a large step forward in its own open data efforts by releasing a new data visualization tool that allows the average person to answer questions about his or her region's history of natural and man-made disasters. Users can filter through raw data to learn about the number of disaster declarations made, events like fires, storms, snow, typhoons, and terrorist attacks by state, county, or tribal nation. The tool has graphs and charts demonstrating financial costs associated with the events, along with links to FEMA resources that encourage disaster preparation. The tool is built on data sets that FEMA has already made available but to most people, the data is in an Excel spreadsheet, may as well not exist. Raphael Lamette, Director of Public Affairs for FEMA, explained that his tool's release is a piece of the Open FEMA initiative, a commitment by the agency to educate the population about disasters through the use of data sets that don't just belong to the agency, but to everyone. I think one of the most striking things of this tool is you'll be hard-pressed to find any county in the U.S. that has not been hit by some natural or man-made disaster. From concept to execution, the tool took about 1 year to create. The agency first published the tool in spring in beta form without all of its features before the official full release on June 11th. But now that the tool is in public, the agency hopes that when people see the disasters happen where they live and elsewhere, it will spur them to action. We sit on mountains of information here in government, he said, and our responsibility is making sure that data is accessible to everybody. It's not our data, it's everyone's data. FEMA's new open data visualization tools can be found on its website at fema.gov/data/visualization.
Caltrans officials acknowledge that tiny cracks found on some of the rods on the New Bay Bridge Tower potentially endanger the rest of the more than 400 remaining fasteners that secure the tower to the foundation in an earthquake. They also acknowledge that one of the 4 high-strength tower anchor rods they have examined apparently snapped after it was exposed to water and became brittle. That was the same headache that cost the agency $45 million to fix in 2013 when 32 rods on seismic stabilizers failed after sitting in water. Engineers believe that the problem could be widespread and that the rods could be repaired or even replaced if necessary. Nearly all the rods have been exposed to water, and about a quarter of them have sleeves that routinely flood with bay water within days of being drained. Tests on a third rod, a fastener removed after it failed to hold during a test, showed it had failed with a fast brittle fracture. Experts say the only way that such a high-strength rod could fail after becoming brittle was from exposure to hydrogen in the water. The discovery means that there doesn't have to be a lot of force on those rods for them to break. This could indicate that we don't need an earthquake for them to snap, and that they're unreliable in the loads they are under now. Members of the Oversight Committee declined to approve new expenditures for cleaning and protecting the rods, saying they wanted to wait for recommendations from a panel of experts. The panel is expected to suggest further testing to determine the extent of the problem.
Like his last state Supreme Court appointee, one of Governor Jerry Brown's latest appellate court nominees is a young Obama administration lawyer with no judicial experience. The current pick, Lamar Baker, is stirring up a certain amount of controversy. Brown named Baker, 37, to one of the 3 vacancies on the 2nd District Court of Appeal in Los Angeles last month. Baker, a Bay Area native and, like Brown, a Yale Law School graduate, practiced law in Southern California from 2002 to 2005, then spent 5 years as a federal prosecutor in Los Angeles before joining the Obama administration. He moved up the ranks to become Chief of Staff in the Justice Department's Office of Legal Policy, then joined the White House Counsel's Office in 2013, and has served as Special Assistant and Associate Counsel to the President for the last year. Baker faces a confirmation hearing July 23rd before the Commission on Judicial Appointments.
A city inspection report released Tuesday showed the Berkeley apartment balcony that collapsed last week, killing 6 people and injuring 7, was supported by laminated wooden beams that are considered especially vulnerable to water damage and became severely dry rotted. The balcony directly below the one that gave way during a 21st birthday party for a visiting Irish student was also badly rotted and was condemned as a structural danger. City officials said they are seeking new regulations to enhance the safety of all current and future buildings in Berkeley in the aftermath of the collapse. Berkeley is not conducting an investigation into whether anyone should face criminal charges, and although outside experts have said that problems during construction could have led to the rapid onset of rot in the 8-year-old building, Berkeley's report did not go into what allowed the balcony supports to be exposed to moisture. The analysis is complete, and the city is not going to be conducting any further investigation. Late Tuesday, however, the Alameda County District Attorney's Office said it was looking into the collapse.
California Assemblyman Mike Gatto, a Democrat from Glendale, introduced the California Legacy License Plate Program. And this week, the Department of Motor Vehicles said it's issuing the first run of black throwback plates. California issued the black license plates from 1963 to 1969, and for those who restore cars of that era, finding an original can be time-consuming and expensive. The reissued plates were the fastest specialty plates ever to hit, with 7,500 pre-orders. That's the number the DMV needed to hit to start cranking them out after ensuring the program would pay for itself. The black plates will be stamped from the original molds at the state's licensed plate factory at Folsom Prison. The only difference is the new ones will get sprayed with a clear reflecting coating so they can be seen at night. To the most hardcore gearheads and collectors, though the reissued plates won't be the same, for Gatto, the Legacy License Plate Program is about more than adding a small detail to a vehicle. It's about embracing the state's legacy. We will be right back, folks, with the local news.
The taxman's taken all my dough and left me in my stately home, blazing on a sunny afternoon. And I can't sail my yacht, he's taken everything I got. All I've got's this sunny afternoon.
Manticorp Tax and Accounting can help you minimize taxation, establish a corporate presence, and save you money. Our over 25 years of experience in domestic and international taxation and incorporation services makes us the best at what we do. Your first consultation at Manticorp is always free, and our discounted rates guarantee you will not end up paying for what you don't get. Try Manticorp today. For more information, call 707-701-6416 or email at mantacorpusa.com.
In the summertime.
We are back with the local news. Lakeside Herbal Solutions, a medical cannabis dispensary on Mullen and Clear Lake, was broken into early this morning at around 2:30 a.m. by 3 young men who entered through an unused skylight. They cut themselves climbing through the skylight, leaving a blood trail and fingerprints on the glass door, which they smashed to get out of the store after setting alarms off. The dispensary was able to get some good video of them breaking in and stealing 2 semi-mature cannabis plants that are used for giveaways for patients who cannot afford to buy medicine. Owner Liz Beard said, "Anyone knows us knows we would have given you medicine free if you needed it that bad. Now you're just going to jail." She told us she has owned this dispensary in this location for the past 8 years, and this is the first time anything like this has happened. She's grateful that nothing more was taken. 2 of the 3 have been tentatively identified, but an investigation is still underway. They could not get anything more from the store but just 2 plants, as the alarm went off and everything is properly locked up at night. Anyone with information regarding this, please contact Lakeside or the Clear Lake Police Department at 707-994-8251.
Can we say stupid criminals? Humboldt County Sheriff's spokesman Wayne Hansen said his department eradicated 8,000 plants from several locations on Monday. Mendocino and Trinity Sheriff's officials did not reveal the number of plants they seized. None reported the number of search warrants being served or whether arrests had been made. The Mendocino County Sheriff's Office said it would not disclose details of the raids until a news conference on Friday, citing the difficulty of getting information from the remote region. The raids, which began Monday morning, include deputies from the 3 counties and a combined environmental and law enforcement team from the state's Department of Fish and Wildlife. It was unclear Tuesday how many law enforcement officers were participating in the raids, but residents of the area reported convoys of vehicles driving into the area from southern Humboldt and northern Mendocino counties. Estimates range from 20 to 60 vehicles per group, according to reports on a public radio station, KMUD, based in the Garberville area. An employee of the new Harris General Store on Bell Springs Road, about 13 miles southeast of Garberville, said people have spotted vehicles carrying wood chippers, portable showers, a 250-gallon water tank, and barbecues, indicating the operation will be lasting a while. Yesterday's multi-agency marijuana raid at Island Mountain involved people currently active in the political action group California Cannabis Voice Humboldt. The group's executive director, Richard Marks, confirmed this morning. While Marks declined to identify the people impacted by the raid, he suggests they were sent to the group's management. There might be some heavy restructuring going on in this organization, he said. I'm waiting to hear more from the Sheriff's Department on why they decided to target private property owners. We have been more than public and vocal that we're against trespass grows, water diversions, pesticide use, and illegal grading of properties. And we would applaud the Sheriff's Office to continue those efforts to eradicate those farms. But while they decided to choose private property owners that were trying to come into compliance, we're a little bit disappointed.
Hezekiah Allen, president of the Emerald Growers Association, stated in response to those activities that this is the same type of activity that traumatized me and the children of our community at an early age. This is the same type of activity that has broken families and plagued communities. The environmental impacts are very real and we need to address them, but this is the same war that they've been fighting for decades. The blunt objects that were used against us to fight the war on drugs will be just as ineffective in this capacity as they were in their previous iteration as tools to eradicate marijuana. Today, this type of activity is ever more concerning because so many of our community members have courageously stepped forward and publicly proclaimed themselves farmers. They are seeking regulation, seeking increased collaboration with government agencies and research institutions. These farmers who have stepped forward are key to solutions, yet this activity will discourage more from stepping into regulated marketplace. My heart is with the families and communities impacted by the ongoing war on marijuana. My mind and body is focused on building peace. I look forward to continuing to work together with you on this good work.
The Highland Springs picnic area from the horseshoe pitch to the bathroom facilities will be closed this weekend due to a special event. The area will be closed from 6 p.m. on Friday, all day Saturday, and will reopen at 12 noon on Sunday, June 28th. For more information, please call the Lake County Department of Water Resources at 707-263-2344.
Wonder if they're going to allow camping.
A resolution requesting assistance from the state to prevent real estate and mortgage fraud was unanimously approved by the Lake County Board of Supervisors Tuesday, stemming from a May 19th discussion held by the board regarding a potential land records audit and alleged fraudulent foreclosures. The resolution urges the California Attorney General to create and coordinate a task force to review the scope and extent of ongoing mortgage fraud. District 3 Supervisor Jim Steele said that there is a potential smoking gun here that we need to act on. During the May decision, County Counsel Anita Grant said that the California Homeowners Bill of Rights, while giving considerable protections to homeowners against predatory lending practices, does not give any cause of action to local government to act on behalf of citizens civilly. There is a state law that allows for recording fees to be increased and then would require the DA's office to create a Department of Real Estate Fraud, Grant explained. Furthermore, the recording of title assignments is not required in California as in other states. Although further discussion of a potential land records audit was not held, the board reached consensus to revisit the topic at a future meeting in order to allow for experts to be present. The discussion is tentatively scheduled during one of the board's meetings in July. The resolution was approved with a 4-0 vote. District 5 Supervisor Rob Brown was absent.
The Lake County Board of Supervisors discussed possible solution to the Lucerne water system yesterday. Supervisor Jim Steele declared he would like to put together a small team consisting of special districts, himself, and county council. The California Water Service Company, which oversees the Lucerne water system, will be invited to participate in the process. Lucerne has multiple rate increases from Cal Waters since 2008, for the most recent being in January. The increase was the result of Sales Reconciliation Mechanism, or SRM, which is the second mechanism created to maintain the company's revenues when their consumers conserve water. The first, called the Water Revenue Adjustment Mechanism, was created in 2008 and is a surcharge applied 12 to 36 months following the loss of revenues and allows Cal Water to recover the difference between actual revenues collected and the amount of revenue it was authorized to collect by the CPUC. Additionally, the company entered into a loan agreement with the state's Department of Public Health for just over $7 million upon completion of a new water treatment plant in the community, which has resulted in an increase in repayment charges for residents. Some Lucerne residents could see reduced rates if the proposed Assembly Bill 401 is implemented. Introduced in February by Assemblymember Bill Dodd, AB 401 would require the Department of Community Services and Development and the Board of Equalization to develop a low-income water rate assistance program for households with less than 200% of the federal poverty level. If implemented, the program would go into effect January 1st, 2017.
Scanner calls for a wildland fire came in Tuesday afternoon at around 3:30 p.m. The fire was visible from Highway 29 in Kelseyville and was contained about 3 hours later, but fire crews from multiple agencies remained on scene into the evening for cleanup. Initial reports estimated about 100 acres of wildland burned, as well as 2 power poles, prompting a response from PG&E. CHP was also called to the scene for traffic control due to heavy smoke in the area. Information will be updated as it becomes available.
The City of Clear Lake will be examining a new ordinance based on a bill signed last year into law by Governor Brown. AB 2188 mandates the cities must adopt an ordinance on or before September 30th, 2015 that expedites and streamlines the permitting process for small residential rooftop solar energy systems. One of the purposes of the bill is to discourage local agencies from creating unreasonable barriers to the installation of solar energy systems. This means that cities are prohibited from imposing local regulations that go beyond those necessary to ensure that the solar energy system does not have a specific adverse impact on public health or safety. The expedited permitting process requires that all forms and applications be available electronically, internet, email, or facsimile, and include a checklist that, if satisfied, requires the city to issue a non-discretionary permit. A small residential rooftop solar energy system includes a solar energy system that is no larger than 10 kilowatts, alternating current nameplate rating, or 30 kilowatts thermal. A solar energy system that conforms to all applicable codes. A solar energy system that is installed on a single or duplex family dwelling. a solar panel or module array that does not exceed the maximum legal building height. The state's Office of Planning and Research has prepared a guidebook to assist in the development of the required checklist and other forms along with standard plans and instruction sheets that the city can use to provide to applicants. With adoption of the ordinance, staff will utilize the guidebook to prepare the checklist and other documents and prepare to post the information on the city's website. There is limited cost to the city and will be primarily an additional staff time to prepare the checklist and other documents. There are no policy implications. This is a state-mandated requirement.
The City of Clear Lake will decide at this week's council meeting on Thursday how to deal with two older cars. They have designated them as pool cars for use by city employees when doing city business. The cars are old, from 1998 and 99, with little to no useful life. The vehicles were retired vehicles from the California Highway Patrol that the city acquired many years ago after being surplus by the CHP. They were then used by the PD for a number of years before being transferred to the administrative offices for use by employees. However, due to the condition and safety of the vehicles, they are not used and sit in front of City Hall looking unattractive and taking up needed parking slots. Staff has considered whether or not there is any value in keeping the vehicles, with the conclusion being that the amount of work needed to put the cars into safe running condition is not worth the expense. The recommendation is to surplus the vehicles, declare that they have no value, and donate them to the Lake County Fire Protection District for training purposes. There are no policy implications. The vehicles have little to no value and can be utilized by the fire district for training.
The fourth annual dinner and auction fundraiser for the South Lake Volunteer Firefighters filled the house at Twin Pines Event Center, featuring a Black Angus prime rib and wild-caught salmon buffet with lots and lots of wine, liquor, games, guns, live auction, raffles, and much more, supporting a great cause. Funds raised will help provide much-needed equipment for the firefighters who protect South Lake County, and anything left over goes to local charities. Tickets include a $5 free play at the Twin Pines Casino. The 50-50 and raffle were popular. The 50-50 was over $1,100. Winning auctions of 1.5-liter bottles of top-shelf booze, including Jack Daniel's Whiskey, Patron Silver, Gentleman's Jack Whiskey, Maker's Mark Scotch, Hennessy Cognac, Crown Royal, and Milagro Blanco Tequila. All donated by Noble Liquors, were entered to win a choice of Savage Arms 30.06 or 30-06 with a Nikon scope or a Mossberg 935 12-gauge camo shotgun. The winner picked the shotgun. Other guns raffled or auctioned off, including a Smith & Wesson M&P 40 Shield, a pink camo Mossberg 520 gauge, a pink camo Cricket 22 rifle, and a Smith & Wesson 38 Special. We'll be back in a minute with weather, sports, and the final word.
For other people.
This is for somebody else.
Oh, you're so nice to do that. I had to do all mine. Oh, so close, but good one, good one. That's awesome.
But one person in particular puts countless hours. She probably doubles what everybody combined does for this event, and that's Jody Galvin. All right, Jody, look for it. Mark Jones, would you come on up?
Now tell her again you need 225. Just tell her 25. She don't even know about it. Do you own a rifle, ma'am? Hello. Do you own a rifle? It's all right. No one's home. We're good. They got it right on the rifle. It says my first rifle. Hey, loving the firefighter made you in trouble. All right, here we go. 2 bottles of wine, and it's going to go to Jody.
The taxman's taken all my dough and left me in my stately home, blazing on a sunny afternoon. And I can't sail my yacht, he's taken everything I got. All I've got's this sunny afternoon.
Manticorp Tax and Accounting can help you minimize taxation, establish a corporate presence, and save you money. Our over 25 years of experience in domestic and international taxation and incorporation services makes us the best at what we do. Your first consultation at Manticorp is always free, and our discounted rates guarantee you will not end up paying for what you don't get. Try Manticorp today. For more information, call 707-701-6416 or email info@manticorpusa.com.
We're back with your weather. Today will be one of sunny skies with a high of 97 degrees. Winds will be from the south-southwest at 10 to 15 miles per hour with a low of 66 tonight and winds shifting to the south. Tomorrow is going to be a hot one with a high of 102 degrees and mild winds from the south-southeast at 10 to 15 miles per hour. Not a cloud in the sky. But we expect to have a cool down to 60 overnight with that same mild breeze. When we join you again on Friday, we'll be back down to 97 degrees, winds back from the south-southwest at 10 to 15 miles per hour.
I'm back in Phoenix, Arizona. In sports, both the Giants and the A's resumed action last night, having a day off on Monday. The A's faced Texas and Arlington, beating the Rangers by a score of 8-6. The Rangers scored 4 runs in the bottom of the 5th inning, but Oakland came back in the top of the 6th and also scored 4 runs. The next inning, the A's scored another 2 runs to take the lead permanently. Jesse Chavez got the win, even though he gave up 5 runs in 5 innings, one of his worst performances in recent weeks. Ben Zorbis led the offense with 2 hits, including a home run and 2 RBIs. The Giants were home to the San Diego Padres Tuesday night. Madison Bumgarner started for San Francisco, retiring the first 14 hitters he faced, 10 by strikeout. Bumgarner allowed 2 runs and 5 hits over 7 1/3 innings, walking 1. However, his performance was not good enough. The Padres scored 2 in the 8th inning to tie the game, and then scored the winning run in the 10th inning when Alexia Amarista singled in the go-ahead run. Hunter Strickland gave up the run and took the loss. This is the second straight loss for the Giants. However, they're still only 1 game back of the LA Dodgers, who have also lost 2 in a row.
In our final word, archaeologists have discovered nearly 8 million canine mummies, from hours-old puppies to adult dogs, in the dark, spectacular catacombs next to the Temple of Anubis, the jackal-headed god of death. While animal cults are a widely recognized feature of ancient Egypt, not a whole lot is known about the nature of the catacombs and mummies associated with temples dedicated to animal gods. A new study, published in Antiquity this month, chronicles the catacombs of Anubis in the North Saqqara from their heyday during the late period of 664 to 332 BCE, to their exploitation for raw materials during modern times, where mummies may have been used as fertilizer. The temple is in the country's ancient capital of Memphis. The canine catacombs were first documented in 1897, but it wasn't until 2011 that a full excavation of its long series of dark tunnels was undertaken. The center passageway stretched for 568 feet, with the corridors branching from it reaching a width of up to 459 feet. These catacombs were constructed from the stones dating back some 50 million years, and the catacombs themselves were built in the early 4th century BCE. In fact, the ceiling even contained the 48-million-year-old fossil of an extinct marine vertebrate, likely the relative of today's manatees. Many of the mummies have disintegrated over the centuries, and others were disrupted by grave robbers and quarrymen. Still, it is clear that this animal cult was a big part of the economy. Some of the older dogs had more elaborate burials, may have lived at the temple. But some of the dogs were just days, even hours old when they were mummified. They were likely separated from their mothers and died from dehydration or starvation. They probably weren't killed by physical action. While 92% of the mummified remains belonged to dogs, the team also found jackals, foxes, falcons, cats, and mongooses. They were not sure why these other animals were there. Maybe the dog-looking animals were interchangeable, and there might be a mythological rationale behind the cats and birds.
Mummified animals, that's amazing.
Ooh.
Well, thank you for watching today, folks. We'll be back on Friday, same time, same station. News at noon on lcm-tv.com. Hope you all have a good rest of the week.
Stay cool out there.
Good job, guys.
we need to get